Have you noticed your favorite berries disappearing or getting way more expensive lately? The winter of 2025 to 2026 sent shockwaves through the red fruit market, from the fields of Morocco to the supermarkets of Europe. Extreme weather and supply shortages are forcing a massive shift in how our food is grown and sold. But is this just a temporary crisis or the end of an era for the berry industry as we know it? Today, we're uncovering why the game has changed and what it takes to stay competitive in an increasingly demanding global market. Let's dive in.
You know, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, they seem like such simple pleasures, right? Well, behind the scenes, the entire global market for these red fruits just got completely turned upside down. And it's a story that tells us a whole lot about climate, about quality, and really about the future of our food.
It all kicks off with a question you might have asked yourself recently. Because if you've noticed that your favorite berries are a bit pricier or harder to find, well, you've actually felt the aftershocks of a crisis that rippled from fields in North Africa and Southern Europe all the way to your local grocery store.
So, what on earth caused this red fruit shock? It all started with a single catastrophic climate event that basically forced the whole industry to stop and rethink everything.
It was, no joke, a perfect storm. During the winter of 2025-2026, you had Spain and Portugal getting hit with way too much rain and late frosts. At the exact same time, Morocco was dealing with floods and a severe drought. This barrage of extreme weather created a massive agricultural shock, and crop volumes just plummeted. And the fruit that did manage to grow, the quality was all over the place, which led directly to a major market squeeze across all of Europe.
The chaos was summed up perfectly by a wholesaler, Ellen Sabrex. Prices for things like Spanish raspberries were skyrocketing because there just weren't enough to go around. But at the same time, the quality was dropping. I mean, imagine paying more for a worse product. That was the frustrating reality for buyers everywhere. But here's the thing. This wasn't just some temporary shortage. The crisis actually triggered a much bigger, long-term consequence. It permanently changed what European buyers demand from their suppliers. The market basically hit its breaking point. All of a sudden, cheap, unreliable imports were out. A new rule of the game became crystal clear. Consistency is now everything. Buyers decided they'd much rather pay a premium for a product they can count on than risk getting a bad batch.
And this new demand for quality is incredibly specific. We're talking about consumers wanting new, interesting varieties like pine berries or extra sweet raspberries. They want to know exactly where their food comes from. No bad surprises. There's a huge preference for eco-friendly farming, and there's even this new explosive niche for ultra-premium products. The market has gotten way more sophisticated.
So what does this new premium standard actually look like? Well, for one, it's about varietal innovation. Consumers want new and exciting things like pine berries or extra sweet raspberries. They also demand clear origin and traceability. They want to know where their food is from, with no bad surprises. There's a huge preference for eco-conscious production, and there's even a growing ultra-premium niche for what are basically luxury agricultural products.
And this brings us right to our case study, Morocco. As a huge historical supplier to Europe, the country suddenly found itself at a crossroads. It had to make a really critical choice: adapt to this new reality, or risk getting left behind.
This meant a fundamental shift in thinking. The old model was simple, right? Just export as many tons as possible and try to be the cheapest. But that left producers totally vulnerable to climate shocks and price wars. The future model is a complete pivot. Now the main goal is consistency and the percentage of premium-grade fruit. The competition is now based on reliability and innovation, not just price.
But why is Morocco so well positioned for this? Well, it comes down to what you could call an unfair advantage. The country just has a distinct climatic edge over Europe, way more sunshine and longer growing seasons. The basic conditions for premium agriculture were already there. They just needed to be mastered with technology. And that's exactly what they're doing. So let's dive into the detailed, three-part blueprint Morocco is now using to turn that natural advantage into real market dominance.
And here they are. The first is what we're calling mastered climate, which is all about using technology to create stability. The second is certified quality, which focuses on branding and just ensuring a perfect product. And the third is strategic diversification, which is about finding new markets and new products. Let's break each one down.
First up, Pillar 1, Mastering the Climate. This means using modern greenhouses to get total control over humidity and temperature, shielding crops from things like frost and heat. It means investing in resilient, weather-resistant plant genetics, and finally, using advanced precision irrigation to pretty much neutralize the threat of drought. Okay, Pillar 2 is all about proving and marketing that quality. This involves elite quality control where any imperfect fruit is sorted out before it even gets exported. It means using innovative packaging to extend shelf life, securing all the top-tier certifications for easy access to European supermarkets, and even working with chefs to rebrand Moroccan red fruits as a luxury ingredient. And the third and final pillar is a really clever two-pronged strategy to reduce risk. Path A is geographic expansion, targeting new, high-value markets in the Middle East and Asia so they're not so reliant on Europe. And Path B is all about value-added transformation, taking any imperfect fruits and turning them into high-margin products like jams, frozen goods, and premium juices. So, when you look at all this, what's the big takeaway from this market shock? Well, it created a new, non-negotiable rule for every single producer who wants to sell in Europe. And the takeaway is clear. The era of just growing as much as you can is officially over. For producers in Morocco and everywhere else, the future belongs only to those who can weave together climate technology, varietal innovation, and super strict quality control into everything they do.
And that same wholesaler, Ellen Sebrechts, she leaves us with the final word on what this new era means. The market is there, the demand is there, but as she says, only those who can guarantee regular quality will profit. It's both a stark warning and a clear promise of a big reward. And this leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. Morocco has a natural advantage, right? More sunshine, longer growing seasons. It has all the foundational conditions for premium agriculture. The country holds all the cards to stay a global leader in this new market. The only question is, will the pivot to precision happen fast enough to seize this massive opportunity?
Welcome to the debate. So, if we cast our minds back to the winter of 2025,
Yeah, a truly brutal winter.
absolutely brutal. We saw localized floods, late frosts, and severe droughts that basically wiped out the European red fruit supply. It changed the fundamental economics of, a simple supermarket raspberry almost overnight.
Right, because suddenly the market abandoned those volatile, cheap imports. They just started demanding absolute reliability.
Exactly. So today, we're looking at Morocco. As they pivot from a high-volume export model to this high-tech, premium approach, the question is this the ultimate blueprint for agricultural dominance or just a dangerously fragile strategy? I argue that Morocco's technology-driven shift to, premium consistency will actually secure its global leadership.
And I contend that abandoning their historical low-cost, volume-driven model for high-cost precision farming presents, frankly, insurmountable structural risks to the industry.
So because that extreme weather basically shattered the supply chain, Morocco is forced into a corner here. I mean, they just can't rely on tons exported anymore.
No, the volume game is definitely dead.
Right, but they have this incredible foundation to build on, don't they? Significantly higher annual sunshine hours and naturally extended growing seasons.
True, they do have that natural advantage.
So if you pair that climate superiority with profound agricultural innovation, I'm talking modernizing greenhouses, varietal innovation, you guarantee European buyers the one thing they crave right now: consistency.
Well, I come at it from a slightly different way. Competing on consistency completely strips away Morocco's primary historical advantage, which is being the low-cost alternative.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Now they are trying to match hyper-local, elite European producers. Look at Belgium's Hoogstraten co-ops, right? Every strawberry there is digitally tracked and standardized to the millimeter.
Sure, it's highly precise.
It is. And transitioning to that level of precision farming isn't just a simple upgrade. It's like asking a fleet of taxi drivers to suddenly lease Formula One cars. The vehicle is better, yeah, but the massive technological overhead and daily operating costs will just crush them if they don't win every single race.
Okay, I see why you think that. But let me give you a different perspective. Mastering the climate isn't some optional Formula One luxury anymore. It's the prerequisite for having a crop at all.
To shield against frost, resilient genetics, precision irrigation to neutralize droughts, these are survival mechanisms. I mean, if they don't invest in this infrastructure, the weather ensures they have literally zero yield to sell.
Right. But they're already losing money on failed open-air crops. So you're asking farmers to take on immense debt just to enter what I'd call the premium trap.
The premium trap?
Yeah, it's where the cost of climate-proofing a crop grows much, much faster than the premium the European consumer is actually willing to pay. Can Moroccan producers survive that debt when buyers are already financially exhausted by recent market spikes?
Actually, the data on European demand indicates they are willing to pay, provided the quality standards are met, of course.
Really? Even with the current economy?
Yes, there's explosive demand for premiumization and varietal innovation, things like pine berries, white strawberries, and those extra sweet raspberries. And remember, there's a safety net.
What kind of safety net?
Imperfect fruits. The ones that don't meet fresh export standards can be diverted into high-margin jams and frozen lines. It's a built-in strategy of product diversification to, offset the risk.
I have to say, I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that.
Why not?
Let me tell you why. A punnet of export-grade raspberries pays for the massive overhead of a climate-controlled greenhouse. Jam pays for the jar and the sugar.
Oh, come on, it's supplementary income.
But you absolutely cannot service millions in high-tech agricultural debt by selling secondary market jam. Plus, chasing these ultra-premium niches, like the luxury success we've seen with hop shoots, completely distracts from the core buyer mandate.
Which is what, in your view?
Well, wholesaler Ellen Sabrechts laid it out perfectly. Buyers want no bad surprises. If your primary fresh export batch fails elite quality control, the capital is just gone.
That's an interesting point, though I would frame it differently. Integrating climate tech and securing those strict quality certifications is exactly what insulates Moroccan producers from the devastating price wars of the past.
If they can afford the entry ticket.
Exactly. But it shifts them out of a volatile commodity market and builds long-term buyer loyalty. That's invaluable.
It builds loyalty for the elite few who can afford the transition capital. My main concern is that this rigid demand for perfection will fracture the Moroccan red fruit industry, leaving traditional, smaller producers completely behind.
That is a very real risk, I admit. But while we disagree on the ultimate viability of this premium pivot, I think it's clear we both agree that the era of bulk commodity farming is officially over.
Oh, absolutely. The climate simply won't permit it anymore, and honestly, the buyers won't tolerate it.
Right. So, we will leave it to our listeners to determine if this high-tech premiumization will save the Moroccan red fruit industry, or if it will fracture it under the weight of its own ambition. Next time you pick up a flawless punnet of raspberries, consider the massive financial leverage and hidden infrastructure required just to keep that illusion of simplicity alive.